You are listening to a piece of the Salasin.10 podcasterium. You are listening to a piece of the Salasin.10 podcasterium.
Everyone, very good morning.
Good morning, Sam.
How are you today? Fantastic.
Okay.
It's like a Saturday morning, and developers usually they wake up late on Saturday.
No, running cron
For
jobs.
5 days, they wake up late on Saturday, and then they continue to work hard on Saturday. All right, that's the developer life program and do things all the time. So before we just get started, Microsoft people, we have Chester and Tom here. So we're just going to give a opening about Microsoft openness and Azure demo.
Yep.
So we will continue our session right after this.
Okay. Welcome guys, my name is Tam and that's Chester. We are from Microsoft Malaysia, the developer experience team. And today, welcome everybody to our WordPress meetup in our office, level 26. So before I start, if you guys wanted to go to the washroom for guys and girls, just go to the main door and the guys will be nearer, the girls one will be just here. So we will need to make a U-shaped turn. So we're supposed to go out from this door, but it's locked today. So but anyway, if you guys on any axis, don't just go try to open the door because we will probably get a call in like 10 minutes. They'll treat this as a security breach, so we'll get a call from US. But anyway, okay, let's just get things started. So welcome guys. Let's just go. Okay. So I'll share a bit on Microsoft openness and what are the things that we do for the open source community. If you guys see on the slide over here, you might recognize some products that you might use from a day-to-day basis. Yes, we have a lot more than this one, but the main ones are mostly here. So we do support Linux, BCD, even the recent Windows 10, we built shell right into Windows itself. So if you guys are using open source tool, feel free to just hop on to the Microsoft platform. We have our free development tool as well that if you are interested to develop apps in iOS, Android, and Windows, you can use our tool to develop for all three. So that's some of those stuff that is quite exciting and upcoming recently. So yeah, if you guys are interested to know what's happening in the open source space and the support that Microsoft have given worldwide, not just in Malaysia, feel free to visit this URL over here, openness.microsoft.com. You'll have a lot of success story. So maybe you guys might find some success story. For example, just recently I know that OpenStax, have you guys heard of OpenStax? Yep, so they are building it on our cloud platform. So those guys, they have their stuff, but they built a template over in Azure and they do sell their products on our cloud platform. So that can be some of those business opportunities as well. So this kind of case study, you can find a lot more on the URL that is mentioned here. So next, I'll just pass to Chester for a quick demo on how fast can you do WordPress on the Microsoft Cloud.
Alright, okay.
Chester.
Thanks, Tom. Alright, so hi guys, good morning. So I'm Chester and I'll be doing a demo on starting up a WordPress in our Azure. Alright.
Azure. Wow, it has grown.
Alright, okay, so this is our Azure portal. So if you want to start your own WordPress site, if you're a beginner or even developer, this will all be the same step. So we have a lot of things here, but today we'll just focus on WordPress. Just search for WordPress, and then there will be quite a number of selections for you. So for the developers, you can look more on this. But today, we have also, if you want to manage it as a virtual machine, you can do that. But today, focus is on the WordPress simple template itself. So you just click on WordPress. There's only one button for you to click, which is create. And then it will bring you to the configuration. So you can decide the name of your site, the URL, and then today I will just say welcome WordPress community.azure website from there. So alright, so it's a unique one. subscriptions, and you can package it into a resource group. So the resource group is something that you can manage, like where is the location of your server, what is the pricing and everything. Alright, so go for the services, and then you can just select, okay, I want it to be in Southeast Asia. If you have some of your business in other countries, South Central US, we have a lot more for you to choose. Alright, so I'm just gonna show you what are the locations. This is like a Happy Meal menu that you can choose. There's a lot of locations that we support. Alright, so I'll just use the one which is closest to our location here today. And then for databases, you can choose whichever you want as well. And I've already deployed some of it already. So just click on the links you have. And for pro developers, if you have advanced settings that you need, it's also within the same page as well. So just put in all your advanced settings that you need, the keys, authentication keys, secure authentication keys, all that. If you're happy with it, just press OK. And then press create. So you just say submitting deployment, and then within a couple of minutes later, you have your WordPress site up and running. So you can actually check the site later using the URL that I entered earlier. Well, during your break or small transition, you can actually use your phones to access it. So that is the 5 minutes.
Just show the created version that you have.
Yeah, alright. Okay, so I created one version earlier. So this is actually a WordPress hosted in Azure site. So it's basically WordPress. There's no advanced configuration needed. Just log in like an admin, configure, like your template. You can start publishing your own posts and stuff like that. Alright? Okay, so I'll pass it back to Sam. Sorry?
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you go back to check your deployment, I think it will
It will
probably
be
ready.
ready already. So
Go to your application.
So
Yeah, so
succeeded.
it already succeeded.
So you can actually visit the site now.
Yeah.
So it's called. Hold on. So you can actually type welcome WPCOMM
Oh, they have grown.
.azurewebsites.net. Okay.
It's so much nicer than I used it before. Yeah, I used it before, but the version 1, this version, I don't know what. Wow.
So yeah, our point is there are basically a lot of templates over at our marketplace, not only just WordPress. If you are practicing, just a couple of minutes, you can basically create your own site. And the good news about this one is there's a free tier over at our Azure marketplace, so you can basically deploy your website for free. But there are some certain limitations that tied to it, but it's still possible to do it.
Yes. So if you have any more questions, you can always
Yeah,
catch
you
us.
can
We
always
will be
catch us.
around
We'll be
here.
around here.
During your break time or transition time. Just talk to us. I guess we are friendly.
Yeah,
So
super friendly.
Super,
Don't worry,
super
we'll
friendly.
find-
Don't worry, don't worry. Okay. So with that, so
Let's just go to
yep.
So besides WordPress, right, what you can do if you join our cloud platform is not just only hosting the site. So if you see the stuff over at the top part here, we offer a lot more other than just websites. You can do analytics, you can do advanced machine learning, even if you want to do your CPM and stuff like that, all over the world. Remember, we have around 30 regions with 22 data centers worldwide. So it is up to your option to choose what you want, and yeah, our cloud is like super scalable. If you are looking for high availability, or if you are doing a marketing site on some website, and say for example, if you are working with an airline and you decided that this coming Sunday there will be an event, then this feature will be super nice to you, because you can actually scale the website to make sure it doesn't come down. So another, yeah.
Do you have any example WordPress sites on your cloud hosting, on your Azure hosting?
At current production one, I do not have visibility on that, but I surely can find for you. If I'm not mistaken, the Free Malaysia today they are using WordPress. If I'm not mistaken.
And it's on Azure platform.
I'm not sure. I need to check. So yeah, basically that's that. Another example is, have you guys heard about Pokemon Go?
Yeah.
So before that, someone said that Malaysia will have Pokemon Go, right? So that was a website created as a clickbait just for you to click in and view the advertisement. So someone decided to go and create some sites and put in advertisement. So if everybody go in all at once, then that guy will probably earn a lot of money. And that site probably wouldn't go down if he configured it to scale properly. Because at one point of time, I think everybody was clicking in to check when is Malaysia launching. Anyway, that's the end of my presentation now. I'll pass back to Sam.
Alright, thank you.
Thank you guys. So if you want to ask us any question, just catch me and Chester.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Any other questions?
How about security of WordPress? I mean, I have heard security is a bit poor. Is it true?
On the WordPress part or on the Microsoft Cloud part?
WordPress part.
I think you will address that.
Yeah,
Your
we'll cover that
presentation
shortly.
later,
Alright.
Okay.
Okay. Alright, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you guys. Thanks guys. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you. There's quite a lot of This will be expensive, isn't it? Yes, it's expensive.
Yes, quite expensive. More expensive than
It's more expensive than Blue Ocean, Digital Ocean.
just for sure.
Oh yeah, another thing about if you wanted to connect to the internet, just connect to Microsoft Open. There's no password or whatsoever. No problem. Just make sure you don't go and visit those Malaysia sites.
Yeah.
Probably will get an email.
Or
You
call
guys-
Should be expensive.
Yes. But they say got a free tier.
The free tier only gives you 900
Okay,
ringgit.
thanks, time and
That means they
Chester.
give you a
1 month only.
Oh,
Okay.
it's not a forever free.
Yeah.
First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Sam Suresh. I'm Malaysian, okay. A lot of people asking me, are you Malaysian? And then I'm a technology instructor. Usually I teach people on how to program mobile apps, how to program applications. And I contribute to WordPress, Joomla CMS, Moodle Learning Management System, and some other open source project on my free time. And I love diving. Any licensed divers here? High five. High five. Okay, so today this event, WordPress meetup, we're supposed to have we target just 50 people. We know when we got about RSVP about 100, only 50 will turn up. And all of you are here, congratulations. This is, when I gave talk in Barcelona last month, it's just about 20, 30 people, but the talks were very loud. Congratulations selalu fikir lah tepuk tangan. Sorry for the Malay. Alright, so please encourage our speakers here because they are just volunteering like anyone else. This is a very totally a free event organized by volunteers. All the speakers are volunteers. We are not getting paid for it. We are not getting paid for anything. All the printing was done. This is the only thing I got from WordPress Foundation, which is the slides and the stickers. Alright, so there's no monetary funding for events like this. So what we decided to print t-shirts. And we want to collect 10 ringgit. So the cost is about 15 ringgit. We want to collect 10 ringgit because we have second meetup on December this year. And that meetup going to be a big one. Alright, this is the first meetup, so we don't want to really do it very formally. So it's a very informal event. So you can feel free to ask a lot of questions, network with other people, and get to know more about WordPress. There are some experts here, David, where's other speakers, Nicholas, and we have Lorna and other people. Okay, so let me start with the WordPress story. A little introduction about WordPress and what is WordPress all about. How many of you first time WordPress users here? Wow, that's a lot. How many of you are using WordPress as a blog, WordPress.com as a blog? So you assume WordPress is a blog, right? No? You know it's WordPress, right? How many of you using WordPress as a website, content management system, or application platform? Great.
A lot.
How many of you are here to figure out what is this event about? That's fun. Okay, so the WordPress is a platform which is founded by Bill Gates.
No,
The founder of
MATT.
WordPress.
MATT.
Oh, Microsoft guys here. Matt Mullenweg, right? Matt Mullenweg is the guy who founded WordPress, but actually it's not. WordPress is a fork of B2 catalog. Yeah, B2 catalog, which was created by a French guy called Michael Dufresne or something. His name is. He created WordPress back in 2001. I have the snapshot for you shortly. So this is the guy, Matt Mullenweg, the multi-millionaire behind WordPress. And there's a co-founder actually. Yeah. Mike Little. Because his name is Little, only a little people know about him. Okay, Mike Little is co-founder of WordPress. So what happened was when Cafe Lock is very popular back in 2001, and in 2003, the founder of Cafe Lock decided to stop the development. And Matt put up a comment that, hey, can I just take it and fork it to release on my own name called as WordPress? And then Mike Little said, hey, come on, I'm going to help you contribute this, let's make it work. Because these two guys are die-hard fan of Cafe Lock. Alright, so that's how the evolution of WordPress came into place, and they started to develop in 2003 version 0.6 beta, and then we got the version 0.7 and some other versions. I have some snapshots for you. And WordPress come in two flavors, right? The first one is WordPress.com. WordPress.com is a blogging platform. All right. So the second one is WordPress.org. So it's an open source script or application that you can download, and you can build anything you want to build. So that's two different parts: WordPress.com and WordPress.org. And WordPress.com is more like a blogging platform. Of course, you can build a basic website with that. It's a hosted service. It's managed by Automatic. The company behind WordPress.com is Automatic, which is owned by Matt Mullenweg. So they make money by selling premium themes, premium services such as getting extra storage, or you buy extra plugins. No access to source code mostly, but I'm not sure if premium service, is there access to source code? No, right? Because it's hosted. If they give you access, probably you can hack the service. So it's very limited in terms of installing plugins or themes, because there's a pool of themes or selected plugins that you can pick and use it. Right? That's WordPress.com. And you need a WordPress.com account, and you need to agree to terms and conditions, privacy policy and all that. But WordPress.org is a CMS platform, content management system, and now it's evolving like an application app platform. So you can build apps because it comes with a lot of APIs. Right? You can build a mobile app with a WordPress backend. You can build a system with a WordPress backend. It's the only con of having WordPress.org application is you need a place to host it. And the hosting is very cheap, right? I think a shared hosting costs about 100 ringgit per year, right? Or less than that. Less than that. So with the self-hosted WordPress, you have full access to your source code, and unlimited plugin and themes. You can install anything you want, but don't install everything that you can find in plugin directory. All right? I'm sure there's one session, your session, right? Speed up. So I'm going to talk about how to pick the right plugins later. So you don't need an account, so your site is not connected to any other company at the back end. It's your own site. You can have it on your machine, on your server, on your cloud, on your hosting, anywhere. Where else? WordPress.com is a hosted service that people behind it manage it. You need to manage your own site. .com is managed for you. It's free for some 3.8 GB or something. So this is WordPress timeline. 2001, B2 catalog launched by Michael Valdrigi, is a French guy. 2003, Matt Mullenweg and Mike Little fork B2 and create WordPress. 2004, plugins are introduced with version 1.2. 2005, theme system and static pages are introduced. 2008, new administration, user interface and shortcodes, API introduced. 2009, and then we have 2010 was a major release with custom post tags, which is you can create your custom post tag, custom views and all that. This is a CafeLog website. It's still there. You can go to cafelog.com. You can look at the website. This is the original website of WordPress, which is forked from this V2, and you can see Matt Mullenweg comments is archived purposely to show that WordPress was forked from here. And then there's another software called V2 Evolution, which is a fork of V2 as well. And it's actively developed until today. It's another CMS. So there's two branches of forks, WordPress and V2 Evolution. WordPress is much more successful because of a lot of things that you will hear today. In 2011, they introduced a lot of new things. You can see up to 2016, we have version 4.5 with responsive images, right? Browser can fetch responsive images based on the different sizes that is offered to the browser. And this is the first version of WordPress 0.71, and it's just a plain blogging site. And then WordPress 1 in 2004, slightly different interface with two lines on top. WordPress 1.5, 2005. Yeah, you can see we got text now, and there's options. WordPress 2.0, we have some colors. And then, we got WordPress 2.5, there's the dashboard. Okay, we got settings, we got a lot of other options such as manage design. We got WordPress 2.7, and up to now we have almost similar dashboard. This is the latest WordPress 4.5 as of now. So, which is more like a complete flat design. And you have more efficient interface to work with your site. Okay, so that's a little story about the evolution of WordPress. And the upcoming release, 4.5 released, led by Mike and Dominic, 4.6. And the next version, Matt Mullenweg will lead version 4.7. So, Matt is the founder of WordPress, and he's going to lead that version for 4.7. So we can see a significant changes in 4.5. He's going to put up all his thoughts in that version. That's going to be released in 4.6 will release next month, and 4.7 will release in December. It's supposed to be December, but I guess it will release somewhere in March next year. WordPress plugin directory crossed 1.3 billion downloads, so with almost 45,000 plugins. We have 45,000 plugins now in WordPress plugin directory, and crossed 1.3 billion downloads. So you can find almost many features, many different plugins, some good plugins, many bad plugins there. So you have to be careful when you're choosing your plugins. And some of the popular WordPress plugins are WooCommerce. WooCommerce is e-commerce plugin, right, for WordPress. I think WordPress is very popular. One of the reasons why WordPress is very popular is because WooCommerce. It crossed over 1 million downloads, and it's very comprehensive. How many of you are WooCommerce users here?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, not many. Alright, so you can sell anything you want, and there's a
Easy
lot
to sell
of themes
kits.
that you can find, like themeforest.net. You can buy themes which is already configured with all the shop. You can just install it, and you've got your site up and running. And now WordPress is coming with automatic security updates, right? So your site's more secure because whenever we have security updates, it will self-update. So you don't have to press manually to update it. And the second most popular WordPress plugin is this one. How many of you are using this one?
Standard install.
This is like, you can't avoid using this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't avoid using this. This is a fantastic plugin, but you have to configure it properly. It's like a traffic light on all of your content pages. When it's green, you can see like a mark indicator there. When it's green, the SEO setting of that page is good. Probably you'll get best ranking on Google when people search the particular keyword. When it's red or yellow, you can find the text, what you have to do for that page to improve the SEO ranking. So you don't have to hire such marketing or SEM or SEO agency to do your search engine optimization. You can do it on your own with the help of this, but configure it properly to get maximum of it. I'm just going to showcase 3 plugins here, and none of this is paying me anything to do this. Okay, it's just most popular plugin for WordPress. And this one, WC Total Cache, right? You have to use this to speed up your website. This is going to speed up your website. It's going to cache, and you have to configure it properly. It's going to cache multiple levels, multiple things you can do, header caching, so many different type of caching, so that your website will launch fast. 25% of websites running on WordPress. 25% of websites.
It's just a quarter. It's just a quarter.
25. That's a single software market share is 25. That's huge share, right? Where else, if we talk about Joomla CMS, maybe 1 or 2%, or I don't know, some other Drupal, maybe 0.5% market share, the worldwide share, and WordPress powered 25% website in the world, 75% to go. Right? So it's a big achievement for WordPress because it's community driven. WordPress is free. WordPress.com is not open source. WordPress.org is open source. So I'm sure all of you using WordPress.org because it's a free software. You can download it, and we have 2.6 million core updates along with plugins. So there's so many commits, so many people commits the codes to improve the software. It's not only WordPress Foundation working on it. We have a Slack group. How many of you in the WordPress Slack group? None of you? All right, you can later please go to just Google it, WordPress Slack. Slack is like the instant messaging tool. If you are interested in that, we have the WordPress Foundation is on WordPress Slack. We have people like a contributor, we have volunteers on that. Or you can go to make.wordpress.org. Make.wordpress.org if you want to contribute your codes or something. So WordPress evolved from blog to the CMS, and now it's an apps platform. WordPress became an apps platform. A lot of people will think WordPress is just a blogging platform, right? Anyone you ask, do you know about WordPress? Yeah, it's a blog tool, right? It's not just a blog tool. WordPress is an apps platform. You can build apps with WordPress. It support REST API version 2 now. You can do more with that. And REST, yeah, it's improved and it's evolving with different APIs. So later we have Furia giving talk on React. All right? If you know about WordPress, .com is the dashboard is on React. It's fully on React and JavaScript. Anyone logged in WordPress.com dashboard? This is the one. It's not the WordPress dashboard. If you want to go WordPress.dashboard, you have to go down and click on the WordPress dashboard. Most probably, most of the developers never seen this. Because you always download WordPress, install it, you're just looking at WordPress dashboard. This is the WordPress.com, a setting dashboard. Right? So it's fully on React and JavaScript. So we have a talk about React and JavaScript. So Matt Mullenweg advice to all of us is the future platform will be API-driven interfaces and JavaScript. So he requests everyone to learn JavaScript deeply. This was his State of Work 2015, which is every December in a year they have a big conference in Philadelphia, US, about the WordCamp US. So this was his advice. Learn JavaScript deeply because now people building mobile apps with JavaScript, building almost most of the applications with JavaScript compared to traditional interfaces. So that's it, my story about the WordPress for today. Any questions? No? All right, thank you so much. So, the next session is supposed to split two, right? But not many of us today for this first meetup. So how many of you are beginners and you really want to know how to install WordPress, how to use WordPress? That's your website. Otherwise, we're just going to merge as one session. We will just continue with the next session.
Oh.
So shall we merge it or we should split to two sessions?
It's going to be very technical, no matter.
Merge? So you can hear all the sessions, but you can skip some of the basic sessions a bit, such as beginner's guide for WordPress. Is that okay? Hey guys, come on.
I'm okay with it, but I know about the others.
Great. So let's go ahead to the next session. So the next session will be who's that next? So can all the speakers just stand up and speakers, can you just stand up? Okay. Alright. Great. Okay, David, your session, right? Me? Okay. Alright. Okay.
The agenda is all messed up now.
Okay, please.
Morning.
Morning. So I'm very happy to be here today. I attended a WooCommerce meetup in Melbourne, Australia, and there were only like 30 people, but they had pizza and beer.
Mm-hmm.
So over here, I don't know, maybe give feedback what you think. So I am a blog junkie on Twitter. I don't know how to give a job title for myself, so I just call myself WordPress evangelist. My company is ClickWP, and basically what ClickWP does is that we offer tech support to my customers, and because WordPress is open source software, this means that there isn't somebody like Microsoft you can call and shout on the phone like, hey, my website is not working, what's up? So
my company tries to solve that problem for customers. Before we go on, I want to know how many of you use WordPress.com? WordPress.com.
Personally.
Okay. If you're using WordPress.com, then this my talk does not apply to you because WordPress.com is pretty fast. My session is going to be about speeding up WordPress for self-hosted WordPress sites. Here's my bag. Okay. Okay. Cool. So how many of you use? How many of you host WordPress on by yourself? You have a hosting account with exabytes?
No. IP71.
IP71. Okay, good.
It's our company.
Server freak, right? Yep. Okay, those. Yeah. Anything but the exabytes, right?
Today is their open day.
So basically,
Exabyte.
my talk
Yeah.
will be about
Data center open day.
optimizing WordPress on your own hosting account. Okay, so if your blog is on WordPress.com, doesn't really apply to you, but there are a couple of things that you can also take away from the topic. Okay, I'm not a very good speaker, so if I'm not clear, please stop and ask me questions. I'm very friendly as well, so you can just raise your hand and ask me questions. So if you Google how to speed up WordPress, you have hundreds of results. Okay, and now I think that the problem with these is that they don't really explain why or what is it that caused WordPress to be slow in the first place. They just give you a checklist and then do these 15 steps and then your WordPress will be fast. That's not the case at all, because the thing is, WordPress performance, the speed of your WordPress site that they refer to as WordPress performance, it will depend. It's different for site to site. My site is going to be different from your site. It's going to be different from your site. It's going to be different from your site. So there is no one size fit all approach. Okay. So for you to really speed up your site, I think it's very important to understand what is causing the site to be slow in the first place, right? So there are a lot of elements that there are a lot of factors that affect your page load time, and the load time is what is the term that measures your site speed, how fast it is. And from this diagram here, you can see that it's categorized to mainly the front end side and also the server side, which is the back end. Okay, so there are lots of elements on the front end that can cause the site to be slow, and also lots of elements on the back end that can cause the site to be slow. Now, unfortunately, some of these are outside of our control. Like for example, like if your computer is shit, your site is not going to be fast. If your internet connection is, also not going to be fast. But the good thing is there are a lot of things that are within our control. So we're going to be talking about some of these things that we can do to improve your site. So first, let's talk about what is a slow website. This article on Web Designer Info, or Web Designer Info, I can't remember. But basically, they reference a Google Webmaster video, and Google's recommendation for a fast website is that it loads in the blink of an eye, which means 0.5 seconds. And they say the maximum for e-commerce sites should be 2 seconds. Okay, so while that is a very ideal goal, but I think for most of us here, it is not very practical to have your website load in 0.5 seconds. So if you want to do that, you just end up pulling out all your hair. So I think let's aim for something a bit more conservative. Let's say it is slow if your website is more than 3 to 4 seconds. So even if your website is loading in about 3.5 seconds, that's still pretty good. Okay, anything under 3.5 seconds, that's great. So that's what we're aiming for. Next question I want to ask: how many of you feel your website is slow?
Yeah, my project manager complains about it.
Okay, all right. So you know, when we say that your website feels slow, you can test it by logging out of WordPress, and then you use private browsing on your browser. Private browsing, also known as porn mode. So some of you know it. But anyway, so when you use private browsing, you are logged out. You don't have all the extra scripts. You don't have the admin bar, you know, and you are overriding the cache. You are not using the browser cache. So when you visit your website for the first time, when you visit your website for the first time after you activate private browsing, then you get an experience of like what it feels like for a normal, for a random user to visit your site. So then you can also then you may find that it's faster if you are than compared to if you're logged into WordPress, or maybe even slower. And then of course you can also test with your browser inspector, and some of the browsers call it developer tools. So this is a website. I activated the browser inspector. I'm on the network tab, and this tells me that this site loaded in 7.87 seconds. Okay, so that's how the browser inspector works. That's one way for you to test how fast your site is. The next thing that you can do to test your website speed is using a website speed testing tool. So there are a couple that I use. I like GTmetrix, Web Page Test, and Pingdom. Okay, out of all of these, I think Pingdom is the best option. But Pingdom has got some annoying things which I don't like. So I tend to use GTmetrix. GTmetrix is a good medium balance, and then like if you really want to get geeky, then you use Web Page Test. It's like all of the geek stuff is there. And so the reason why you use website speed test is because it's more consistent. It doesn't rely on your own internet connection. I mean, you know how Unify is. One day is good, one day is not good. So they have a better, more stable connection, and then you can also test from different locations. So like for example, if you use Pingdom, you can test from 3-4 locations in the US, one in Europe, and one in Australia. So that gives you an idea of how your website experience is like for audiences in these regions. Okay? And I just want to point out also that when you use different tools, you will get different results. So just use this as like a relative guide. It's not if your GTmetrix score is good, check it on Pingdom, and then you'll see, oh, okay, it's not so good. But basically, just use it as a guide to improve your site further, okay, as a relative guide. So basically, you always want to try and improve the score that you get from the testing services. Any questions?
Yeah, why not PageSpeed Insights?
PHP, that one is a lot more deeper, and I was trying to keep things a bit more beginner for now.
Oh, okay.
So that one maybe you can tell me.
Okay.
Okay, some of you may also have heard of Google Page Speed, right? And but I want to tell you that if you use Google Page Speed, don't stress out about Google Page Speed, because Google Page Speed they don't measure your website speed. They actually grade your website. They give you a grade. They look at your website. They compare against a technical list here, and then they say, okay, pass, fail, whatever. But it actually doesn't measure how fast your website loads. Okay, so if you are using Google Page Speed, don't worry too much about the grade that you get. The more important thing is how many seconds that the site takes to load. Okay, so we're gonna start into the main section of the presentation. What is it that causes the slow websites? The biggest cause really is because people have no idea what they're doing. They just install all sorts of plugins, they sign all sorts of agreements, they don't know what they're doing.
Don't record that.
Sorry. Okay. But anyway, okay. So the first reason or the first cause of slow websites is the page weight or the size of the page. Okay. So basically, this means that if you have a large or heavy page weight, the browser has to download large items to display the page. So let's say, for example, you have a website with a lot of images. All the images add to the page weight, to the page size. You see? So, and even if you have a very fast connection, if you have to download a lot, it's still going to take slower than if you have to download just a little bit. Okay, I'll switch to my browser. This is Pingdom, and this is a friend of mine, a site Pure Glutton. Hang on. This one I gotta push it like this. This is no good. Okay, hang on, let me try to change mine. So, right. So this is my. Oh, sorry. As I was saying, this is my friend's website, pureglutton.com, and this site. We were talking about page weight, alright? So page weight is this figure here, page size. Okay, so basically what you do is you go to tools.pingdom.com, you go in here, you put in your URL you want to test, you click start test, and then it will do a test and grade your site like this. So this is the Pingdom results page. It gives you a summary here. It tells you here what you can improve, and then more data, and then this is basically what happens as the browser is trying to download the page. Okay, so we'll go slowly. I'll try and explain this slowly as we go along. So the number one reason why a website is slow is because you have a big page size. In this case, it's only 1.6. It's not very big. Okay, it's not very big, but there are some other factors here that I will explain later. So how to fix a large page size? The page size is contributed because there are a lot of images on your site, and also stuff like CSS files, JavaScript files, and things like that. So what you want to do is to very easily just reduce the number of elements on the page. Instead of having so many images, you instead of showing 10 posts on your home page, you show 5. That cuts number of things on your page by half. And then, sometimes you have widgets, in WordPress you have widgets, and sometimes there are websites that the sidebar is longer than the main content, right? So, cut all of that out as well. That reduces the number of widgets, number of images in your site, and a lot of JavaScript and CSS and stuff like that as well. Okay? So, that's something very simple to do. Also, you want to optimize your images before you upload them to the server. Okay, a lot of people take they've got a nice DSLR camera. They go to a restaurant, makan, take a picture of their food, one on Instagram, send one to Instagram, another one, take the picture from the DSLR, upload to the site. So that's an unoptimized image. Alright, straight from your camera up to the website, that's not optimized at all. When you want to optimize, I'll cover optimizing in a bit more detail later. You also want to use images that are the right size. So if, like, for example, on your website, the space that you have to display the image is only 600 pixels, don't put a 3000 pixel have so many images, then lazy load the images. There are WordPress plugins. Go and look for lazy load on the WordPress plugins, and that one basically what it does, it will not load your images until you scroll, and then when the images come up, then they scroll into your browser, then only the images will appear. Okay, and then using your browser inspector or the web page testing tools, you can also check which themes or plugins are adding extra JavaScript and CSS files and things like that. So okay, here's an example. Okay, so this girl has got a picture in the sidebar. Now, if you look here, this picture is only 352 pixels wide. This space that she has is 352 pixels wide. But the photo, is straight from a camera or something. It's 2,208 pixels. So the photo is being squeezed down to show in this small space here. Okay? This large photo itself is like 5 megabytes. This one photo is making a whole web page slower than it needs to be. Okay? So basically, you resize the picture first to 352 pixels wide, and then you use the picture. Or, when you upload to WordPress makes thumbnail size, medium size, and large size, right? So use the medium size at least, and that will make your page rate smaller. Yep.
What is your recommendation for the features at 1 MB, 2 MB, or 3 kilobytes?
Well, the images should be as good quality as maximum. There's no exact size, but ideally, if everything is about 100 to 200 kilobytes, that's the best. Okay. But sometimes there are some designs your website has got a large image at the top of the page. So if you have a large image and it's only 100 kilobytes, there's not enough data in that image. It's going to appear very blurry, very ugly. So obviously, you try to balance the need for your design as well the need for speed. So use the best image for that situation. Okay. Now you can optimize images, and it's quite easy to optimize your images before you upload them. If you're on a Mac, you use Image Optin. You go and download. It's a free application. On PC, it's called Cesium. Okay, and these are programs on your computer. You just drag the image into the program, and then the program will analyze the image, and then it will create a new version of the image at a smaller size with the same quality. Okay, so it doesn't your image doesn't look bad, but it's immediately smaller size. Okay. There are other couple of guidelines when you want to use images on your website. If you're going to use a logo, use PNG or GIF. Don't use JPEG, because JPEG it doesn't look nice. PNG or GIF give you smooth and sharp lines. JPEG you should use for photos only. Okay. A JPEG, or let's say if you have a photo that is a PNG size, it can be easily 5 times larger than the JPEG. Okay. On a Mac, you can do a screenshot. How many of you use Macs and you know the screenshot, right? So I have clients. They see a nice picture. Instead of downloading the picture to their computer and then uploading to their website, they just do a screenshot of the picture, and then after that they upload straight to their website. So that one immediately increases the image size 3, 4, 5 times. Never ever use BMP. So if you have a photo that's a BMP, try to convert it first. Otherwise, don't use the photo. Because BMP format is very, very large. Next thing you can do is you can use image optimization service, and there are 2 that you can use. In fact, there are a lot, but 2 examples are Imagify or WP Smush Pro. And basically what this does is that it takes the image from your WordPress media library, transfer to the service, compress the image, and then send back to WordPress. So you don't have to do the work before you upload the image, and you will do it after you upload. But it costs money. Okay, so image optim and CCM, is a free version, free that you can do, and of course it takes up a bit of your time before you upload the image, but it's free. The other thing you can do is to use a CDN or website accelerator. CDN stands for Content Delivery Network. So there are a couple of CDN networks that you can get, or you can buy, and basically like the popular one is Max CDN, and I think Max CDN will actually optimize your pictures before they send it to your visitor. Okay, there's also a free CDN that you can use with Jetpack. How many of you know WordPress Jetpack plugin?
Yeah.
Okay, in the WordPress Jetpack plugin there is a module called Photon, and Photon is basically image optimization and CDN service. So when you activate Photon, it will try to reduce the number of, it will try to optimize the images before it sends to the website visitor. Okay, so that was page weight. That's one of the causes of a slow website. The other one is the number of requests. Page weight is where the browser has to download a lot of large items. The number of requests is basically the browser has to download many items before it can display the page. So just now I showed you this Pingdom result, and where's my mouse? Okay, so this is a waterfall chart. All right, and this waterfall chart is basically telling us everything that the web browser has to download before it can display the page. Okay, so you can see here that the first thing it downloads is the HTML file. Then the next thing it downloads is the JavaScript file, and then the CSS file, CSS file, CSS file. A lot of stuff that it needs to download before it can display the page. This website has got this website has got a total of 94 requests, and yeah, so basically you can see, these are the number of requests for the site. 94 is actually not too many. 94 is actually okay. I've seen websites with like hundreds of requests, and that really slowed the website down. So in this case, this website is not doing too bad. And okay, so how to fix too many requests? So the first thing is that you can deactivate unnecessary plugins. Right. So I'll show you again. We switch to the browser. If you look at the waterfall chart here, you see that this thing is trying to download this flag slider. It's coming from WP content themes. So this is part of the theme. It's fine. This one here is being loaded by a plugin. You can see WP content / plugin something. Right, this one also here being loaded by a plugin, this one by a plugin, So you see, when you activate plugins, the plugins will add some files to your website. Okay, so you can see here plugin, and all of these are adding to the number of requests on the site. Okay, so when people tell you, deactivate plugins and your site will be faster, this is one of the reasons why. Because the plugins are adding extra requests to the site, and a lot of times, back to Najib, I don't know what I'm doing. They just install plugins and they don't know what the plugins are for, and all of these plugins are just slowing down the site.
Excuse me?
Yep.
How to know that plugin is a good one? How to know the criteria to be a good plugin? Let's say that I have 3 plugins do the same things.
Right.
But how to select from them?
Okay. Well, so when you choose plugins, there are different criteria. The most important criteria is that it achieves the goal that you want, right? I mean, there's no point you install a plugin that is very fast. It doesn't add any requests, but what you want it to do, it doesn't do. So I mean, you have to choose just like the images, you have to choose based on that. Sam, you told me presentation 1 hour, so now
1 hour.
it's
It's 45 minutes.
45 minutes. Okay. Alright, so I think I have to speed up. I'll talk to you later, right? Okay, and then also third-party services and third-party widgets. Some of you like to use, some of you like to put Instagram widgets on your website or Pinterest images on your website. So these are third-party services and widgets, and basically what this means is, as the browser is reading, as the web browser is reading what to download, you know, it then also has to like, oh, you want a picture from Pinterest? Okay, hang on, let me go to Pinterest. I get a picture from Pinterest. Go to the next line. Oh, you want a Facebook page thing? Okay, I gotta go to Facebook, collect it. So that adds a lot of time to the download speed. See, so ideally you also want to reduce all the third-party services and widgets. Ads is another one. How many of you have ads on your blog? Okay, not many. Good. Because ads can really add a lot of page weight as well as a lot of requests to your website. Some ad networks, they will send auto-playing videos. Videos are very big, and you know, they will have multiple requests because they want to track what you are doing, you know, on the website as they display the ads as well. Now, then of course the last step here is to get developer to optimize your theme. And this part, you know, not many of you may have access to this, but basically you can have a developer look at your theme and say that, okay, the theme needs 5 JavaScript files and 5 CSS files. What we can do is, we can take 5 and we can combine them into 1. We can take the 5 and combine into 1. So out of 10 requests, now becomes 2 requests. So you can get a developer to do that. But you know, again, like I said, that one is a bit, cost. Yeah, of course it costs money, right? Okay, now the next reason or the next cause of a slow website is underpowered or slow web server. Okay, so this means that the server is too little CPU or too little RAM, or you know, it's a slow network, whatever. And so when if we go back to this diagram, this is the problem. Sorry. Okay, so this is the problems. These are when you have a slow server, you know, the server performance is slow, doesn't have enough CPU or RAM, or if it's on a slow network, the server connection to the internet is slow. So let's say, for example, your website is hosted in the Ames data center, Pujudaya. So within Malaysia, it's quite fast because you know it's an internal network. But then if overseas are trying to access the website, it can be a bit slower because the connection to the internet may not be as good. So in this case, how can we fix a slow server? Really not much to do. You can fix a slow server because you don't own the server. You know, unless if you really want to have everything super speedy, you got to control the server as well, and you have to be able to modify and optimize the server. But most of us really don't have that. So our real options here is really just to switch to better hosting, you know. And better hosting means hosting with more CPU, more RAM, and hosting also with built-in caching. Okay, and caching is a process of storing information in advance so that your website is faster. I will explain a bit more in detail. Another option you can have is to reduce your number of sites per hosting account. So the nice thing about IP Server 1, Server Freak or whatever, they have cPanel, right? And then number of add-on sites that you can add is like 50 or 100. So some of us, you know, we use that to the max. One hosting account, we have like 50 websites on a hosting account. That 50 websites are all sharing the CPU and RAM. So if you have less sites, there's less to share, and therefore you know you have more RAM and CPU for each site. And then the final thing you can do is activate a caching plugin. Just now Sam mentioned W3 Total Cache, and that is a pretty good caching plugin. The problem with caching plugins is that this is on the WordPress level. Okay, so this means that the web server still has to activate WordPress, load WordPress, And then WordPress has to decide, okay, is this cached, then fine. But if you have hosting with built-in caching, this cache is on the server level. The request doesn't even reach WordPress, and the user already gets a response. So what this means is, let's say this is a visitor. This is your website. WordPress is here, and there's a WordPress database with your posts and your data and stuff like that. So in the standard process, no caching. What happens is that the visitor makes a request to the server. The server has to go and talk to the database. Do I have ski boots? Search the database. Okay, send back to the server. Then server talk to WordPress. Make this raw data look good. Means that the WordPress template and everything. And then finally it sends back to the user. So WordPress, this is actually what happens in WordPress every time you visit the WordPress site with no caching. Okay, so this process is a very expensive process because the server has to talk to the database every time. And whenever the server is talking to the database, is using CPU, it's using RAM. Okay, so let's say you use web hosting with a cache, alright? And one of the cache is called Varnish. There are many different types of cache. WP Engine has EverCache. A lot of others just use Varnish. And basically Varnish is another machine, another server that sits in front of the main web server. So when the visitor sends a request, it goes to Varnish first. And so let's say the visitor asking for ski boots again. Has this already been requested? If it's yes, straight away goes to the visitor again. There is no need to go to the server, ask the database, blah 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 blah, and stuff like this. Okay, so this process is much faster. It just goes to Varnish and back. Okay, so more and more web hosting companies, when they offer WordPress hosting, a lot of times they are double the price, triple the price, and that's because you are paying for this thing. There is a cache between the visitor and the web server. So this optimizes and speeds up the server a lot. Any questions about the cache? Okay. The next cause for slow websites is demanding plugins or themes. And this is even if your server is got enough RAM or CPU, it's just asking it to do too much. Okay, so let's say you have an F1 car. F1 car is fast. So imagine your server is an F1 car. It's really fast. It's the fastest car ever, right? But if you add a lot of, if the F1 car has to pull a heavy load, then it's not fast anymore. It becomes very slow. And it cannot go fast even though the car, the engine itself is very fast. So in that kind of case, your web server is like that as well. So even if you have a web server that is fast, if you're telling it, okay, install this plugin, do this thing, everything, there's just not enough resources on the server for that. Examples of plugins that take up a lot of resources are WooCommerce. Okay, so any of you run an online store with WooCommerce?
Yeah.
Okay, yep. So WooCommerce is one plugin that takes up a lot of resources, and you can check to see how much resources the site is using a Query Monitor plugin. The plugin is called Query Monitor. You add these details to the top of your page here. Let's say if it's a brand new website, the top one is a brand new website, and it has no plugins. So it's just WordPress out of the box with 2016. Out of the box with 2016, WordPress only takes 0.27, the server only takes 0.27 seconds to generate the page because it's only talking to the database 41 times. Let's say an e-commerce site, okay? You see the time it takes to generate the page here is now increased like 10 times. Okay, and the memory is also a lot higher, and it's also talking to the database a lot more. Okay, on the blog, this blog got like 10, 20 posts on the homepage. there's 110 database queries. It's not as heavy it's not as slow as the e-commerce site, but you can see how plugins and themes that require a lot of resources can affect the page time. So how do you fix it? To stuff like this, you have to, you don't have much choice, you have to upgrade your hosting. After a certain level, then you probably need to go cloud hosting, so you can talk to the Microsoft guys for Azure Cloud or whatever. And then the hosting that you use, Nginx is also a web server, and Nginx is more efficient than Apache. So if you want a website that is, if you want your WordPress to be really fast, ask the web hosting company, is it Apache server or is it Nginx server? And if it's Apache, then you know it's going to be slightly slower. And then you have to just use essential plugins only. If you don't need this plugin, don't use it. Another thing you can do is to split into separate sites. So let's say, for example, your website has got a blog, your company website, and also e-commerce. If you put everything on the same server, this server is going to be very, has to do too much. So maybe what you can do is you split the e-commerce into a different site. So just the main website is just the main website and the blog, and then e-commerce is on a different server. So at least the one you can make things a bit faster then. And then again, this one here you have to get a developer to optimize it. Okay? So
Go ahead.
Then the rest of the speakers will have no time.
We don't.
10
It's
minutes.
fine.
Okay, and then the other thing is the final thing on my list is really an unoptimized server. So how many of you have a standard shared hosting and you don't use any caching plugins? If that's the case, then basically it's unoptimized, completely unoptimized. It's like, who needs any protection or optimization? And if you have an unoptimized server, two things you can do. Just activate gzip compression, and basically what this is, it compresses the data before it sends it to the visitor. So this way, it's transmitting less data than if the data is uncompressed. Okay, this is something that you can do from the cPanel, or you just activate a caching plugin. It will also be able to do that for you. Okay, so yes.
So after you start activated gzip compression, so it will after protection.
Well, okay, it's not exact. When I say protection, it's just like a analogy. It's like I don't care, like I don't activate gzip or whatever. It's like I don't care. But if you care, then yes, you definitely should activate gzip compression. When you activate gzip, the page size still stays the same. So if your website is before activating is 2 megabytes, you activate it, it's still 2 megabytes. It's just that the way that the data is transferred is compressed. So basically the server compress the data, send to you, the browser uncompress it again. So the data being sent is still 2 megabytes, it's just that it's being transferred more efficiently. Okay? Okay. A couple of miscellaneous things. Server location can affect how the site speed as well. So this is something that you should consider. If your audience mainly in Malaysia, then it's much better for you to go with a local web host or a web host that has a data center in Singapore. If your data center is in London, for example, that is further geographically that the signal has to travel. So server location actually can play a big part as well. Themes. So how many of you use a theme from Team Forest? How many of you like those themes with 100 features, free Revolution slider, free Visual Composer?
Not me, but my designers.
Okay. Now the problem of these, right, all in one, is that there's a lot of stuff that is being loaded that you don't use, but it's still being loaded, adding to the request number of file requests and slowing down your site. So always try and use as minimal as possible. And then if you use page speed, just learn up about the recommendations. It can help to speed it up. Okay. Okay, and then finally, I just want to do a quick and easy recipe for speedy websites. And the number one thing that you can do to improve the speed of your site is to invest in quality hosting. This one now, I know this is actually quite a big pill to swallow, because right now our ringgit is shit, you know. And if you sign up for the cheapest plan at SiteGround, $10 a month, that's 40 ringgit a month. 40 times 12 is like 400 plus ringgit a year. You know, so it is quite expensive. The thing about SiteGround is that SiteGround has got built-in server level cache. It has got a static cache, a dynamic cache, and mem cache for the database as well. So you know, for $10 a month, it's actually very worth it. If you have a bit more money to spend, then I suggest Flywheel. Flywheel is managed WordPress hosting, fully Nginx, data centers all over the world. You can put one in Singapore. So if it's a business website and you want it to be fast, I think Flywheel is quite good, because it starts from $15 a month compared to the it's $29 a month. And then if you know you have a lot of money and but you don't want to hire a sysadmin, or you don't want to manage the cloud hosting yourself, you can go with some guys like Kickstart. They start at $100 a month. Okay, the next thing is to use a lightweight theme. Okay, so all the Theme Forest themes, you know, they seem great. They sound great because they give you so many features and everything for only $59, right? You free Visual Composer, free Revolution Slider, but you know they're always very heavy themes. In fact, you download the zip file from Theme Forest is also easily like 10 plus megabytes. You know, but a lightweight theme is going to be faster every time. So places that you can find lightweight themes are from Automatic. You go to the WordPress theme repository, you look for themes by Automatic. For premium themes, I like StudioPress. StudioPress is a framework, so it shows you. Okay, so and then StudioPress themes are pretty lightweight, and then it's telling me I'm talking too much. And then the next tip is to watch your page weight. Okay, so we talked about page weight. How many things are on the page that is adding to your page size and slowing down the download. Okay, so rule of thumb, just aim for 1.5 megabytes or lower. Okay, so I think if you have a site, you can have a site with half a megabyte page. It's quite easy. Be very mindful of what plugins you install and things like that. And the final recommendation I have in the recipe is to use a website accelerator. So website accelerator is there are a couple. My favorite is Cloudflare. How many of you have heard of Cloudflare? Okay.
Yeah.
So what Cloudflare does is that it sits between your website and the internet, and then it will help to cache your content, and it can also act as a CDN, so that and it's free. Cloudflare is free. And if you don't use Cloudflare, another free option is Jetpack. So that's basically the recipe for an easy, quick websites. Invest in quality hosting. Use a lightweight theme. Number 3 is to watch your page weight, and then number 4 is to use an accelerator. It's okay. I'm done with everything. Yeah, so you can test there. And so they have technical questions. What's wrong, Exabyte?
They're all at the open day today.
Right, okay. Well, I mean, okay, so there are good web hosts and there are bad web hosts, right? Exabytes, depends how you want to categorize them. The bad web hosts, basically they will take a server and to make money, they will put as many hosting accounts as they can on the server. Hard drive space is cheap, you know, but the server, the CPU, and then managing and updating and securing the server, that costs money. So basically what they do is they take a server, they put a big hard drive inside. The hard drive is enough to host 100, 1,000 sites on one server. And so web hosts that do that, you know, they can give you a lot of hard drive space, but the CPU and the RAM has to be shared among all of those sites, right?
And you know how many people they host in a server? Before this, they have on their website, it's 300 people, 300 clients per server. So you can imagine if someone just misusing the resources, like just uploading, downloading, maybe all other sites will be affected.
Yeah, so, and they don't have any of the caching, server-side caching. Okay. So I will make way.
Other questions? No? All right, thank you so much, David. Okay, that's a really fantastic presentation. Thanks again, David. As you know, Google ranking, in order to get a better ranking, your website has to be speed, right? So I hope that's really useful. So next we're going to split to 2 sessions because we don't want to cut off the presenter times, right? Because they already prepared for it. So the first session will be the other side. You can just get out here and enter the other door. It's for WordPress with e-commerce. How to install WooCommerce, how to set up your shop. Okay, it's by Izzuddin Fauzi. And over here we have advanced session by Kuala. It's about React in WordPress. Okay, so while the talk is out, those who want to attend WooCommerce, you can go out now and go to the next room. All right, those who want to attend advanced session, you can stay here.
Hard decision.
Yeah. You want WooCommerce or not?
Yeah, I think go WooCommerce.
Oh, I prefer React.
So most of my focus are on back end. I develop plugins and they are all hosted in WordPress org. I did accessibility widget and top communications widget. So that's my background. I also help out with the translation. So if you think you have anything to contribute to WordPress specifically, but you don't have any technical background, you can help out with the PM version, the Malay version of WordPress. There's lots of details there. Just visit WordPress, translate.wordpress.org. I'm the validator for that. So whenever I see anyone translating plugins, you can translate anything now in WordPress, not just the core, also the plugins, all the themes that are hosted in ORG. So even if it's created by someone else, you can still help out with the plugin translation and theme translation. I started doing the translation because I worked with the government sector at that time, and the back end needed to be translated as well into PM. So I was doing multi-site, multi-language sites, which is why I ended up doing the translation part of it as well. So enough about me. What I'm here for, one of the things I do a lot of things. You usually end up doing a lot of things when you're a freelancer. So I make it easy for people. I said I'm a web developer and a community builder. Back in Kota Kinabalu, Sabah, I organize a lot of things, mostly for Google developer. So my focus is always on the developer technical side. So I bring over whatever Google has, and especially those things that are released very, very early on. Once Google releases it, the first ones who will have access to it would be Google developer groups. We have one in KL, one in Penang, in Georgetown, and we also have one in Kuala. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Google I/O. Okay, so they even sent us to Google I/O, so we go through all the latest technology that they use. One of it, which I'm very excited about, is M. M stands for Accelerated Web Pages, mobile pages. I'm a very web person. And the trend nowadays is if you are not into mobile development, you will lose ground. And no matter where you are in the web platform right now, even though you're very expert in web development, wait for another 5 years and you will lose your marketability. You will be forced to do mobile apps. So when you go into mobile apps, I don't have a technical background to be honest. I stayed away from Java. I stayed away from even Ruby. The only thing I like about it, I like is to do PHP. So I understood, the marketability problem about web. So thank goodness for Cordova. Thank goodness for NPM, which allows us to do Cordova. Now I do hybrid web apps. So it's almost as good as mobile native apps for iOS or Android or anything. So in comes WordPress as well, and in comes Google. So I can actually integrate WordPress APIs. You can actually build apps based on the WordPress APIs without relying on the back-end dashboard, the infrastructure for WordPress. If you're very familiar with it, you just reuse whatever that is already in WordPress and create an app for that. So I'm also a very I'm a Google tag girl. So Google and WordPress is perfect. It's perfect for me. And was very Microsoft. Windows is now also very open source friendly. So yay for this. So we've also seen how we can set up WordPress on the cloud platform that Microsoft has. Okay, you've heard this. I think most of us who are WordPress developer started off with the knowledge of blogging and WordPress as a content delivery system. It's a content management system. It's actually a blog, but it is so efficient in giving us the control, but at the same time making it user friendly and accessible for anyone who wants to go into development but don't really have the technical know-how or background in computer science or anything like that. So it's very accessible, and thank goodness Google loves WordPress because WordPress focuses on the content. Whatever solutions or recommendations that Google has to put your page rank up in the search, WordPress can do. Okay, that is, we cannot deny that any longer. So if you're already developing on WordPress, great. I'm not knocking any other frameworks there. This is my preference, and so far it's been one of the best choices if you want to go into development in general. So recently, it's not really recent. Accelerated mobile pages is a project. It's not a new technology. It's not something that is another framework that you need to do. It's just another way of building the web. It simplifies the web so that we can focus on the content, which is what most of us use the web for. We don't use the web you can solve problems automating administration, document management using web apps. But ultimately, people go to the web to find information. And we want this information to be really fast, especially when we're on mobile, and especially when we're in Malaysia, where the infrastructure of KL is perfect. KL is actually when I come here, I'm happy. When I go anywhere else outside of KL or Klang Valley, I finger, because what we do with the smartphone compared to the computer, for example. On the computer, you can do whatever you want, work, and you stay at one place. Compared to mobile, you move around a lot. You're distracted, you're on call, you're talking to someone, and you use the mobile to do one thing, and one thing only at that one point. So when you do mobile apps, or when you use a website, or you create a website specifically for mobile, you need to focus, or you need to realize that when people use mobile, their attention span is short, and they want something now. So that's why our content, or whatever you deliver, information, apps, has to be now. That's why Instagram is very successful, because it helps you take selfies now, instantly, beautifully, and share to a friend, to your friends in just two, three taps. Because it solves your problem now. So web has to be evolved like that as well. The problem with web is that you have to have instant internet connection. So how do we make it faster? It's just like what they did is talking about, we want to make it faster. You can do it in 0.5 seconds. If you don't believe me, let's go through all this right now. I'll show you a video of what app is. Okay? It's about 5 to 10 minutes worth of video.
Those of us, when we first started playing with the web, the great thing was that you could surf. You could go to one site, read something, find a link there, click, you're off to another site.
It was the single greatest driver of innovation that we've ever seen.
Thanks to smartphones. Everybody has internet in their pocket.
But the mobile web is really at odds with what everybody does on the web, which is surf and browse, and that should all be fast and easy, and right now it just isn't.
So this thing which should be a source of utter wonder is a source of frustration.
Waiting.
Not letting me scroll.
Now it's loaded.
People bounce. So if the page doesn't load within a couple seconds, they move on to the next page.
That is the worst possible outcome for everyone involved.
So Google, together with dozens of other publishers and technology companies, sat down and tried to find a solution for this. And our solution was the AMP project.
AMP is a fantastic industry collaborative approach to make mobile web faster.
You'll see the benefits of an AMP page when you first go to one. The first thing is instant speed.
The next click is only sort of like one little scroll away.
More people will see us, more people will see our ads, more people will be able to read our content.
We love the ability to style our own pages. There's a great opportunity for us to really look like our brand, feel like our brand.
With this sort of open philosophy that it's unfettered and unrestricted, and you can do pretty much anything you'd like with it.
Publishers can maintain control over their own destinies, control over their own products, control over their own business models. And the best way to do that with an engineering project is to make it an open source project.
We feel like it's really important that there's not a gatekeeper between a publisher and them reaching their audience.
The success of the AMP project is not going to be based on the leadership of one. It's going to be based on the leadership of many.
You have a problem that is common to others, you work together to find a common solution.
So it's like all of a sudden everybody jumping in and doing stuff, and then something comes out, which is great.
Something that we've needed to do for a very long time as an industry. This is the spirit of the web at its best.
Just give it a try. Show up at the GitHub page, read the documentation, see what it would mean for your pages.
We shouldn't be fighting over what a hyperlink is anymore. It's time to figure out how to tell the best stories.
You know, those of us involved with the AMP project are involved in many regards because we love the web, and we want the web to be as vibrant and healthy as all of us know it can be. We want it to be fast and furiously compelling. We want to make the web great again. It's really as simple as that. Can we make the web great again?
Okay, these are some numbers. If you're not convinced how important speed is for any apps or any websites, these are the numbers that I got is from HTML. So 80% of publishers are realizing higher people rates. All these ads themselves are very slow. So a lot of things are being tackled by this AMP project, which also addresses your content, the way you monetize, the way you distribute your information. These are all parts of AMP, and WordPress can play a big role in that. So these are the things that I'm going to just briefly go through for you. Some details. I'll show you a code lab, which does not really relate directly to WordPress, but relates generally with what you should be looking at when you create a website and things that you need to adjust so that you can have an AMP enabled web. And then there is, yes, I'm so sorry. So it's just a rule of standard, you have to follow in order to that. Yeah, it's like she said, we're actually going to go through some of the standards. How is it different right now for web developers and the standards that they are setting in AMP? So that's what those are the things that we are looking into. Quick solutions, some issues and critics, and personal point of view from myself. I'm going to combine these two sessions together and give you a little bit more about AMP, how it affects you. This is a code lab that you can actually go through yourself. You can actually, if you can scan this or go to this short URL, you can actually access this. Okay, for your information, this is the website for AMP project, so you can read more about it. What's the pro and what's the con on all those things for the project, as well as some latest news. And AMP project is, because it's an open project, then it's not just Google, it's not just WordPress, it's also Facebook and any other things that rely on the web function. So this is actually an interactive program that you can follow. Okay. And you can actually, you'll start by downloading sample code. And the sample code, and you may need to have a simple web server, does not need to have it running PHP MySQL, because the codes that you will be testing on is mostly a static web page or HTML5. So if you have Python or you already have XAMPP installed in the computer or any other web servers, as long as it can run HTML, it's fine. You don't need MyPHP or anything else to try this code lab out. Otherwise, if you don't have any of those set up, as long as you have Chrome browser, they actually have an extension, a web server extension that you can download. Just follow this code lab. Okay. When you build, the things that you will learn in this code lab is what you need to enable there. For example, if you want to run certain components of AMP, then you just add in using the CDN for AMP. And AMP has a CDN. So one of the things you will need to enable is by adding in the script there, and you're actually already enabling the website. That's it, actually. However, once you run it, you will be, if you're looking at your developer console like this one, this is the developer console. You just access the tools, developer tools, and then you just see all this. And when you go to the console section, you'll actually see the errors popping up. So this code lab will teach step by step how to solve this and why those errors come up. The things that you may need to look into would be your canonical tags and a lot of modifications that you need to do. Then meta, telling WordPress or telling the web that you are using a certain standard, HTML, document set, character sets, so that anyone can actually read your content. basically, when you go through all this, even the languages that you look at, the JavaScript that you put in, which is one of the issues that a lot of people going into app are very worried, because this JavaScript sometimes you need it for more interactivity on your page, or your advertisers ask you to put those JavaScript so that you can create their ads. If you go through all this code ad, you will find out that you can't have too much CSS linked externally. You can't have too much link graph. That's what it means. You cannot have too much link graphs. That means your CSS actually has to be within the HTML page itself, or PHP page. It has to be inside the page. Your JavaScript can't have too many hrefs as well. It can't have external. And when I say external, it's not embedded within the page. It's actually a separate JS file.
Separate browser request.
Yes, because it needs a separate browser request. So that's the key, actually. Separate browser request. You want to make your page faster?
Reduce the request.
Yes, reduce the request. And how do you reduce the request? Everything has to be inside the page. So, for example, that's why a lot of people are wondering, which is one of the points that I'm going to bring up at the end. Oh my God, I'm using jQuery, I'm using this, I'm using so many CSS and JS things. How am I going to put that and still make my web page fast? And when you go through all this, you will notice that you will have to sacrifice a lot, not most, of your HTML, of your CSS design, of your JavaScript. And this is why when you browse an app page, for example, you can only see this in mobile, yeah? You can only see this on mobile. When you go on mobile, you can see an app page. It's very mobile specific, these pages. When you go browse your website using your desktop, you'll definitely not see an app logo. An app logo means when you go in there, click on it, I immediately see the page. I never loaded this page before, yeah? I never loaded. But you can see how fast it is. It's click and it's there. And my internet connection is really abysmal, horrible, and it's still fast. And other pages, when you see them listed in the news section, if it's AMP enabled, then just click on it. Facebook itself also supports AMP, which is why some of the news, when you click on it, it's already appearing within page group. Some not. Why? They support AMP. They call it actually Facebook mobile pages, but it's actually still riding on the same concept as AMP. That's one thing, the things that you can do yourself. So a lot of changes, a lot of things that you need to do and edit, and just your developer tool is your friend. So a lot of things. The meta, see, the errors that you may see are your meta tag, no script, the head, very meta, very high level things that you need to know. So there's a quick solution to this. You know, with any WordPress, because you should realize this is your with any WordPress, if you want to achieve something, it's already there. Already there, your team, your e-commerce, everything is there. It's just for you to look at or find. As long as you know, as long as when you plan your website, you know what kind of objective your website is going to be, what you want to achieve, where are you going to sell things, how is it going to look like, how do you have all those things in mind, is it mobile friendly, etc., etc., etc. Everything is in WordPress. official support plugin by WordPress.
And the company Automatic is behind this. And last year they presented in the WordCamp in Philadelphia. We can see the Automatic is coming.
Go to this website. Again, they will do the same kind of rules within your AMP page. And one of the things that you need to be aware when you use AMP, it actually just optimizes your single.php files or page.php, which is where your content or where your article resides, or how it's displayed in WordPress. Because WordPress, they either use single.php or page.php. Those are the things that AMP plugin will optimize. Your index.html or index.php, it won't be touched. And that means it won't be optimized. Yeah?
Okay.
So yeah, that is one of the things. Actually, that's the biggest highlight for any developer when they listen to WordPress and they listen to AMP specifically. When they go through all those things, wait a minute, what am I going to do with all my awesome designs then? Really, back to the slide that I showed you just now, content. It's all about content. So, it means that if you're using WordPress for something other than content or focusing on something other than just content, then AMP might not be the tool for you. Okay? You might need to look for something else or optimize it somehow else. Again, if you're going for news, if you, it's a very good strategy for corporates actually. It's a very good strategy. So if you want to recommend AMP for corporates, one of the solutions would be, for recommendation, would be to have a separate page for that. For your corporate page, which is more newsworthy or more for publication or for public relations kind of information, just separate your content.
Alright. So it looks like the AMP pages mainly you get it through the search results, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this means if you're doing what you're suggesting, is it like a separate mobile site?
It's definitely specific for mobile.
Right.
So if you're browsing through desktop, you definitely won't be seeing that. So there's not separate source file? No, it's not separate. It's just when you go through or when you install the plugin, what it will do is just add an extension inside your meta, as well as some, just not all, but some of the plugins will actually create an automatic extra page for you, which rips off all the other unnecessary stuff and just puts in or leaves behind the content.
So like a responsive design, I can some media things to see what kind of media you are using and something to give us that.
Well, on the front end, that's what you will see. Actually, on the back end, responsive size will still have almost similar server requests. It's just the display would be different. It's responsive to your screen size and so on and so forth. However, for AMP specifically, it really does stop most of the requests that has nothing to do with the content. That means only when it's HTML or, for example, your PHP generates HTML. That's the only parts of your website that it will recognize. If you have external JavaScript that you connect to, or CSS that you link to, most of the time it will ignore these things. So your page will definitely look different. So if you, for example, if you use AMP, if you really want to use AMP, the CSS part of it, where the font sizes or colors of your pages to maintain your branding, possibly those are the things that you want to just right away embed in your thing. create a child theme and then embed those themes. It's almost like a duplicate of the main theme going to the child theme, but then definitely because you're linking from the main theme, you will lose a lot of the things from the main theme because it's linked. So your child theme will be static or all the CSS is actually already inside there. That's what they're going to do. And things that you will have to be aware of if you're migrating on WordPress or moving or adapting your WordPress sites. These are, if you want to access this slide, you can just scan this. There you go, 30 minutes. Nice. So, alright, I'll share with you the link as well. If you follow the meetup page, in the chat section, I'll paste the link to the slide as well. Okay? So, any question? I purposely do this so that you don't ask me questions to be distracted.
Yeah, I will take our minds. I have a question. I see this app is suitable more for new sites compared to corporate sites and business sites.
Exactly. It is. If you see a lot of the corporate or big companies that go in are actually from new sites. And they actually make money. Okay, the thing is, if you're monetizing on ads and you're already using AdSense or DoubleClick, you're safe. You're totally safe. You can continue to make money. I'm not sure about other advertising agencies that require you to do that because I'm not sure whether they are mobile ready or not or app ready. But definitely because DoubleClick and AdSense are controlled by Google, then yeah, they want to help people, continue to help people monetize. So of course, they'll make it app ready. Yes, you had a question from behind? No? Fine, same question. Any other? Yes.
From the planning page, said that the message that we have put and it's not currently review as M, but from others purposes again. So mean if we directly access the page, the M is the function.
No, yeah. Well, depending on how you access, if you access using the computer, then you definitely won't see it. Which is why you can use Chrome, go to the developer tools, and then when you go to the developer tools, you just select the mobile element there, toggle device to the right onto there, and choose kind of display that you want to see. Then you'll be able to see it. Also, like you said, you found out that the plugin does not automatically enable everything. That's true. Like I said, WordPress relies on a lot of external links. It's their strength. It's WordPress weakness as well because you end up making a lot of server requests. The key to making your website fast is lessen your server requests. That's all. Lessen it. Lower your image. David already mentioned all of those things. And that's the secret to faster marketing overall. That's the secret to Amazon. So you might need to go to your themes later, copy paste, look at the errors that is generated, and solve those things. A lot of errors that are generated are answered and explained in the code lab that I showed you this morning.
You have to come through Google or some other search engine. As far as I know, there's no preview kind of things.
And a lot of things. A lot of times, you want to be able to see and direct with you. It's not visiting the page directly, no. It's because your content aggregator like Facebook or Google or any other content aggregator wanted to deliver their information faster. And the content comes from all over. That's why they need to deliver faster. They rely on you to have a faster content so that they can deliver faster. But it's great, especially if you rely on social media in making your website viral. And one of the things that you rely on is on Facebook. And Facebook will catch up on that. You can actually submit your website later on to Facebook, and then Facebook will make it part of those carousel views.
Our vision, our page vision of there, and it's not stored in our server lah. We will stored at Google or
You can look at it this way. Actually, it does not. It's like scripts. You know, PHP. You make a PHP page, and then the PHP will display, for example, your name is Helmi. Helmi. Okay. For example, you log in as Helmi, and you have Helmi's dashboard or personal information display. And when I log in as Lorna, that's Lorna's information. I only see mine, you only see yours. The same concept applies to app. App does not create a new page, but it detects who you are based on your background. So it generates the content with you. But you don't really have to create a new page. It's just the kind of information that you generate. You may need to edit the original page, but then if it's not, for example, you will still be able to see a non-app page on that same page, but it will still be app-friendly.
Switch to laptops, but with it, as you can see, my talk today is about React, using React with WordPress. I am Kuala, and I'm not actually a WordPress developer, sorry, but the idea is that what I'm doing here during the last couple of years is that I'm using on building web applications. My specialty is mostly about engineering the front end, not the style or creating the UI, but engineering part of the front end for complex web applications. And I'm also working on backend with the same language, which is JavaScript, with Node.js. I'm not sure if you heard about it. But, okay. So, as I was saying that this is I'm also working on web applications, and the idea of just combining React.js with WordPress might seem a little overkill. It's like, why we should do that? Why we should just use something as complex as React, which is a UI library with a whole ecosystem of libraries related to it. Why we should use it with something like WordPress, which is already stable, which is serving a different purpose, not web applications necessarily, but websites, mostly working as a content management system. So we want to answer this question during this talk. As Sam also mentioned, delivered good news. The founder of, or the creator of WordPress last year spent around a year with his team on working on Calypso, the user interface for WordPress.com, the admin panel of WordPress.com. And because they wanted to create it using the latest technology in the market, which is React. Of course, there are other technologies in front end. React is one
one of the most trendy ones right now. Because they wanted to create a full-fledged web application, they couldn't do it without a great API. So they also created a REST API. And it actually opens a lot of possibilities. Because if the founding team of WordPress decided to invest on React, it means they are actually seeing things in the future of the WordPress that they can actually relate these two technologies together. So we can actually, something happened? It doesn't matter actually. I was taking on the side. So we can actually just consider the idea that React might actually work with WordPress well. So we want to go through this. But before that, I also wanted to ask two questions. I'm not going to ask a lot of questions. But the matter is that we are going really advanced today because there is no other way to talk about React and all the tooling systems that is working with WordPress without going advanced into JavaScript. So first of all, I want to know how many of you have any experience with coding? Okay, very good. Around, I guess, 70%. And about JavaScript, any experience? Okay, very good. It's 50%. So it's good because today we are going to talk about ES6, which is the new standard of JavaScript. There is also ES7, but we just talked about ES6. ES6 is a modern version, a modern standard. It's actually a syntax trigger over the old JavaScript. It's helping a lot, makes the code more clear. So we are going to just see how it works. So first, we are talking about the problem that templating is not easy in WordPress. We all know that. It's obvious because there is no separation of concern in the web application. There is PHP code inside of HTML code. There is limited space for styling. There are no development tools. There are some development tools, but there are very few, as that it's popular between WordPress developers that they are also spending a lot of time working live on the website, which is not a good practice. There are a lot of time wasted in the time, and there are no defined roles for developers. You cannot say someone is front-end developer in this WordPress, whereas someone is back-end. They should work together. So most of the time, one developer, as well as Ninja developers, they are just doing everything themselves. So, in a modern web application stack, there are so many different ideas, so many different categorization if you want to go through it. But if you want to just make it simple, make it something that we can just focus on right now because we need to cover it later, is that first of all, in a modern web application, we need REST APIs. We might use other ways to get data, more advanced ways, like Relay, which is out of the scope of today's conversation. But REST API is the obvious one because we need, in case you don't know what is REST API, it's a couple of endpoints or URLs that we use to get the data from the server or change the data inside the server, and the format of the communication of data that we receive from server is JSON, which is a key value hash map. Something like an object in JavaScript. We have other principles. We spend a lot of time on setting up the development environment because we want to be as productive as possible. So we use a lot of tools only for the developer, not for the production. We use a lot of tools only for the developer. We use preprocessor, which is another tool for style sheets. You probably are using some kind of preprocessor preprocessor right now. It could be SAS, it could be less. There are new types of preprocessor, like for post CSS, next CSS. There are different types, but we use it because CSS is not reliable. It's hard to just edit CSS files. You probably have this problem of having a color in different area in your CSS, and when you want to change that color, you should find all the places that are using that color and just change it. When in SAS, which is a preprocessor for CSS, you can just use a variable. And then with a preprocessor, you compile the SAS code into CSS, which is understandable for browsers. And in the end, we are not reinventing the wheel. Every time you can use a library for something, you should use the library. This problem is so common between developers. Someone, for example, 4 lines of code. Okay, these 4 lines of code, I can write it, it's easy. Why I should use the library? But if there is a library that can actually do the same 4 lines of code, you should use that. Why? Because right now you are writing 4 lines of code. That's cheap. There is no cost for you, there's no cost for the company. But you should maintain the same code for the next couple of years. That's expensive. Why you should actually maintain a code that you can outsource it to someone else, which is the developer of the library, that maintain it for you for free. So we use a lot of libraries. It's a typical stack for JavaScript apps. There are a lot of other tools here, but we just want to just shrink it as much as possible, so we just spend time on the things that are important. The goal here is not that you learn all of this in this 30 minutes, create a React app in the end if you are not familiar. If you're familiar, it's different. But if you're not familiar, don't worry about this. The goal here is that you just get familiar with these tools, what they are. So if you were interested in the end to go and try out for yourself or create a simple React app or anything, you just don't waste your time knowing what these things are and how you should use it. Because these are really important and you can find it in like 70–80% of the apps. NPM, Babel.js, Webpack, which is Gulp is similar to Webpack. Webpack is something is that replaced for Gulp, and React.js, which is our framework. So NPM. NPM is our package management. It's a package manager. What it does, it manages our libraries. So if, for example, we want to include 2 libraries to our project, we don't go to the website, let's say Bootstrap. We don't go to the website, download the Bootstrap, put it inside the folder, and just carry it all the way with the project everywhere we go. Why? Because it's not efficient. If the library gets updated, gets new, upgraded, anything, you don't understand unless you go and check again. If the library has dependencies itself, the library is using other libraries, you have other problems. You should maintain all the other libraries. So we need a package manager for our applications. NPM, how NPM is doing it, it's very simple. You have a file called package.json. It's a JSON file, the format is JSON. We were talking about what is JSON, this is JSON. So as you can see, we have name, we have version, description. These are not important, they're just meta information. But when you can see a value called dependencies. These are the libraries that are the main dependencies of your project. You define the name of the library, which is the registered name in NPM website, and you define the version. That's it. So instead of having a folder, all of the libraries, you just have one text file. How to use it? First, we need to have npm installed in our machine, you can install it by installing Node.js. Google it, it's very simple, it can be set on every platform. After adding npm, you use command line, go to the folder that you have the package.json file, and just type npm install. It goes and downloads all the libraries, and all the dependencies of those libraries might be hundreds of libraries. Download them, install them in a folder called node_modules. Now let's say you are working on a project and you want to add a new library or new package to your application. You just type npm install, the package name, --save. --save just save the name of the package with this version inside the package.json. So you don't need to edit the file manually. Now, we go to Parallel. Parallel is really important for us because it is really widespread in the React community. So what Parallel is doing is that we already introduced ES6 to you, as that it's a new standard for JavaScript. It's much better, it's much easier to use. But the problem with JavaScript that it's not like other language that you just define a standard and just create the compiler, okay, people use it. People have JavaScript compilers on their browsers. And you know what, if you're web developers, you know about browser compatibility is always an issue. So it takes like forever for people to get to the newest standards. And we always want to cover all of our users because we cannot risk the revenue of our company because we want to use the latest technology. Parallel is a JavaScript compiler. You write your code in the latest standard or the standard that you want. You say ES6 or ES7, doesn't matter. You define it. Parallel compile it to the old ES5 version, which is understandable for all of the browsers. And it is actually doing very, very efficiently. Here I'm just bringing some examples of the new JavaScript. There are so many different, you can Google ES6. There is a website for it that actually all the changes in ES6 described it. But here we have an arrow function, which is a lexical function. Just look at it as the short version of the function. As you can see, we even don't use return because we are doing it in one line. If it's more than one line, we use the curly braces, but it is the short version of the function. There is also another difference between the one in the above and the one in the bottom. There is a difference that is binding this object to the function, but if you are not JavaScript developer, you might not know about all this, so it's not necessarily right now. Well, we didn't have any class in JavaScript. We had object-oriented techniques, but we didn't have any class. What we were doing, we were using a combination of function and prototypes. It was ugly, it doesn't make any sense because the function is not created, is not meant to become the constructor of class, and there are so many problems. So now we have a beautiful class. You can see how much good it is. It's like all the other classes in other languages. It's very similar.
Excuse me, sorry. Before it said the Babel syntax.
Yes.
Is it the Babel?
This is the one that we write.
Babel syntax.
We give it to Babel and get this. So it is the one in the bottom is the old one. Okay, it's a really important change. We didn't have any constraints. So what we were doing before that was that we were using a convention of using all uppercase name for variables, as you can see here, to say that please don't change it. It's a constraint. But right now we have actually a constraint. We can define it using const and give it a value where no one can change it. The rule of thumb here as a best practice that always define everything as constraint unless you are sure that you want to change it, not the other way. And the third tool that I'm going to introduce is Webpack. As our friend were talking about the optimization, it's a tool that actually is helping us with optimization. What it does is that in a large web application with JavaScript, we have a lot of files. We have a lot of modules. But it doesn't make any sense if you put a script tag for all these modules in the end of our HTML, because as you know, the browser is sending the HTTP request for every script tag. And JavaScript is UI thread blocking. So when the UI is blocked, your browser is not doing anything until the JavaScript is loaded. So we want all of our JavaScript to be in only one file. We want to have only one script tag. So the Webpack is just getting all of the files that we have as JavaScript and just turn it into one bundle of one file and export it to us. All this happens backstage in your build process, in your development process. We don't use it, we just set it up and write our code in a fancy way that we use. We just import and export and anything, but in the end, we get the result that we want. This is the way, the syntax for ES6 for importing and exporting. You can import, as you can see, I'm importing React from React, which is the second one is the name of the NPM package. I installed NPM, install React, and now I'm importing it. I'm not actually referring to the node underscore module, which is the libraries inside that. NPM will know it. I'm just importing it. So there is no chance that if the path of the library changes, your code will go into a problem or anything. Nothing like that may happen. And the export is also the same. You can export your own functions, your own variables, anything inside your app. Now here we are facing React. Well, since I didn't mention it earlier, React is actually a UI library created by Facebook. So Facebook is actually supporting this library, and it is very good because the syntax is declarative. So you define what you want, and you let the React do the work. You don't tell it as all of the imperative style of programming, which is, for example, jQuery. We say, okay, if a user clicks on this button, you go get the element of the ID of something and put this inside of that. We're telling it, we're just micromanaging for application, telling it everything, how everything should be done. But in React, it's not like that. It's event-based and it's declarative. We say, okay, if user clicked on a button, the value of our state changed to this. And somewhere else that we want that value, we say, this name of our state should be shown here. So every time anything changes, we don't point it out to where the value should be or anything like that. It doesn't React, we just know and just automatically update the UI. We're going to see all this in examples. It's a simple, possible application with React. We're going to just analyze how it works. First of all, here is nothing about React. It's a normal JavaScript command which I'm using query selector, which is so much similar to the selector of jQuery. I'm selecting an ID called container. It's an HTML element. It could be a div, an empty div, doesn't matter. inside a variable constraint. That's it. So I selected an element. Here I'm using React DOM, which is a namespace coming with React library. I'm using the render function. I'm giving it 2 value. The second one, you know it already, is a wanted element. The first one is called the component. Everything is React is a component. So now that we set up our application, we just create more components for everything that we want. We want a profile image for user, we create a component. We want a text field that they write something in it and just have some behavior, we write a component. So everything is component. That's why it is the usability of code reuse is really good with React. So what I'm telling here is that I want this component to be put inside this element of my HTML. So what is a component? It's a component. I'm using class, as we already described what is class. I'm extending React component, which is from the React library that I imported in the first line of my code. And it's the foundation of the React component. There is a render function, which is the most important function inside the class, which is actually returning hello everyone. But here, something is fishy here. I'm returning something, but it's not a string. It's HTML, right?
Should it be quoted or we can print it like this?
Yeah, you should return an error, right? It's HTML. HTML doesn't work inside JavaScript. What is it? JavaScript is asking, what is it? It's a variable? Doesn't look like a variable. It's not a string. We are not using quotation. So what is it? It is not what will be in our final version of our JavaScript. We are using Babel, right? It is called JS6. It's not HTML. It's very similar to HTML, but it's a React thing. What is JS6? JS6 is the same HTML, but there are so many more features added on top of it. So it's easy for us. We already know HTML. We can use it, but we can use the event system of the React. We can use nesting of components. We are writing this component. We can write another component like this and just use it like a tag here. It works. We can nest multiple of components inside. For example, we have a component which is showing the comments in our WordPress. We can have a component for one comment. For that comment, okay.
5 minutes left.
Okay. I need to speed it up. So this is a very good feature. Now we are rendering a component with props. What is it? I'm actually sending an attribute here. This is my name. And the attribute name is name itself. And just think about it like a normal function. You're sending arguments and getting results. So here I'm using a constructor. It's just because I want to use the props. It's not important. But just think of it as something that should be there. And here I'm using the reserved namespace of this props and name. This name is the same name here. So whatever I send here will be shown here. Now I created a reusable component. I can use it multiple times for different purposes. For example, different profiles of users. I send the info of the users and it will be shown inside. So a state in a React app. A state is similar to props, but it will automatically update every time, or automatically update the UI every time it changes. Here, similar similar to the previous one. In the constructor, I defined my initial state, which is a name with an empty string. Here I used it. I declared it that I want my name, my state name, to be there inside the h3 tag. And here I'm using a function on unchanged. Don't just be so much focused on what the syntax is, the event system of React. And here I'm using a function, the lexical. I'm sending the event here, and I'm just sending it. But the important part is that here I'm using this set state, which is a React function for declaring that the state is changed. So every time the state of my name is changing, the React automatically updates it here. So I'm not saying that H3, I'm not selecting H3 for any purpose. So in jQuery it happens. You are selecting H3 and someone makes it H4. Your code is broken. But nothing like that happened in React.
This is the question.
Okay, now what about WordPress? For WordPress, there are so many approaches we can have to actually make it a WordPress ready. We can aim for full coverage, means that we start early. That's the same strategy that they actually created Facebook. They created small components from different parts of the application, and then they just started to just update the website. Or we can create a widget plugin. We create a plugin, a widget plugin, just insert it inside our WordPress website, and that widget, using the same principle that I described here, works as a React widget. You can do anything you want there, and it's very, very scalable. Maintainability is very good, and you actually separated your UI from your WordPress thing. Okay, for the full coverage, it is the same thing that I described. We keep our React app, we keep our WordPress thing, and we just gradually create new components like this. For example, it is your comments. After you create the React component for it, you just remove everything, and the only thing you have is an ID of comments. The React will just grasp this element from HTML and update it to the comments that is inside your website. For creating a widget plugin, and we are not going to describe it. There is a link to a boilerplate that someone already created. It's a boilerplate that you can actually use it to create your own plugin. Just go and try to change the React code, and it is a plugin that you can use it in WordPress. In case of creating a web application from scratch, there is also another practice in a GitHub repository that someone created a 2016 famous demo of React and just converted it into a whole React application with routing and everything. It's a full web application with no, for example, if you click on a link or anything, there is no request to the browser. It will load using Ajax resources and API. It's very good practice. You can just learn a lot of things from it. And here we have that, okay, and now we are working we can work with React. How to get the data? We have data inside our WordPress. How to get the data and show it? With the API, which we already talked about. The link to the API is here. But here I'm using an example to show how easy it is. I'm importing WP from WordPress-REST-API. Here I'm defining my endpoint, which is the address of my WordPress website, WP-JSON. You may need to install the plugin of WordPress API for some reasons, because it's not still available in the main package. And here it's JavaScript. We use WP posts. Then is a promise, doesn't matter. The data in this callback, you have the data of your latest post. no need to use all those PHP codes inside our HTML. We are getting it right inside for JavaScript. We can do anything we want with it. We can show it everywhere inside our React components. SEO is a problem, but there is also another problem. So I'm going to just say that there is a problem with SEO in web applications. You should just consider that. And there are solutions for those problems. One of them is server rendering. React is universal. You can render it in client and you can render it in server. But you need to, for the first part, you need to run a Node.js server alongside with WordPress. This is not that much great if you are working on shared testing or things like that. There is a snapshot service called pre-render.io, which will go and get the snapshot of your web application and the different addresses and give you the HTML. So Google and anything, search engines, when they are going to different addresses, instead of getting JavaScript response, they get the HTML response. The configuration in the server is really easy, works with most of the technologies, and there is also a combination of WordPress theme and the React, which is not well tested. You should try it out. Okay, there are also some reasons that why it is important. Service experience in the rapid technology growth is really important. Browsers are becoming real-time applications, concurrent real-time data transfer is really important. And the revenue for business and current brand users also love it. Feel free to connect with me with Facebook, Twitter, GitHub, and Kuala, which are available there. And thank you very much.
Okay, 2 questions. If anyone wants to ask questions.
Can you show us examples?
Example of?
Like and using React. And
there are a couple of examples that I don't have the URL right now. If you
themes or whatever, something uses.
I have the I don't know where I should find it, but I can give it to you today. Yes.
Why would you choose React over?
Okay, good question. There is no solid reason for choosing React over Angular. For Angular 1, Angular 1X, Angular is not as good as React. It's not as fast as React. There are some problems with Angular, and it is not as declarative as React. But in the Angular 2, no, Angular 2 is very good. The learning curve for Angular is much longer than React. You can learn React. I created my first React app in 3 days, but for Angular it was like 1 month. So there are some matters, but the reason that we are talking about with WordPress is because the creators of WordPress decided to work with JS. So there are a lot of components open source already ready to go. That's a good reason. All right. Thank you.
One more in theory or because nowadays usually people use Angular for their
no, nowadays people don't usually use it. The Angular and React are both popular. Angular is not in a good state. Why? Because Google created it but never used it in any of its products. But React is live on Facebook, is live on Instagram. There's a solid reason why React works on scale.
And it's WordPress as well, on WordPress.com. The dashboard is using React.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Oh, that makes sense, yeah.
But Angular is also good. I'm not saying Angular is very good. Okay, thank you very
All right,
much.
thank you, Mr. Okay, Windows.
That was a piece of the Salasin.10 podcasterium. It is hoped that you have enjoyed it. If you have any issues, please feel free to leave a comment through any of the channels. That was a piece of the Salasin.10 podcasterium. It is hoped that you have enjoyed it. If you have any issues, please feel free to leave a comment through any of the channels.